Hello all and welcome to episode 9 of the Director's Chair. Today I will be discussing for the first time as a genre, comedy. The other episodes we covered drama, action, science fiction, but this time round comedy, and one of my all-time favorite comedies, Coming to America. Released in 1988 and directed by John Landis, who directed other projects like Trading Places, The Blues Brothers, and the iconic Thriller music video, this film featured a great and humorous cast throughout, although the biggest star of it, Eddie Murphy, did not really get along with John Landis that well, but the result on the screen is what matters. This would be also the first time that Eddie Murphy performed in multiple roles in the film, which would later become a trademark of his. This was also one of the elements that made this movie so memorable and hilarious. Perhaps the most important element in comedy is timing. Each line funnier than the last and with an outrageous plot and scenario, as well as truly memorable scenes. Back in 1988, when it was released, the box office numbers were subsequently huge for a film as this, reaching over $128 million domestically in the US, $160 million worldwide with a total of $288 million. The studio was banking on the success of Murphy and his performance, but more so on a brilliant ensemble cast made up of James Earl Jones, Madge Sinclair, John Amos, Arsenio Hall, and minor roles for Samuel L. Jackson in a hilarious scene in the restaurant of where Prince of Zamunda, Eddie Murphy, worked. Perhaps what makes this film a repeated watch is that it has not aged a single bit. Sure, with the 80s hairstyles and soundtrack, the comedy itself is still timeless. And even as I watch scene by scene again and again, I cannot help but still laugh out loud at it. Critically, it's not a masterpiece, but as a genre of comedy, with its own juxtaposition, it manages to truly uphold that. If you are going to watch it for a first time, or even a repeated watch if you haven't seen it for a while, look out for certain key hilarious scenes, including Murphy's sexual chocolate performance, as well as Eddie Murphy, the Prince of Zamunda, adapting to New York. Also, the royalty so out of place in a grand city like New York, which is not what they are used to from their royal palace and estate in Zamunda. John Landis executes very well of having a rural environment as well as its inhabitants placed in another urban jungle of Queens, New York. The result, an absolute rip-roaring comedy. Simply hilarious to watch. Amazing. This is the reason why it's one of my favorite comedies. Everything is blown out of proportion, over-exaggerative. It is made for repeated viewing. Amazing film in which John Landis himself did have a difficult time directing it with Eddie Murphy's huge demands, but like I said again, the result is there on the screen, and that's what's so good about it as well. Thank you for listening to my latest episode of The Director's Chair. Be sure to subscribe and keep up to date with more releases talking about film and the medium as a whole. Thank you all. Goodbye.